As people started using cars, they got smarter with using time and measurements.
Vroom, vroom. Hurry up, I want to go to school.
Really?
Yeah. Planes gave us the opportunity to travel overseas.
Look how many countries we've flown by.
Whoa.
We need an ocean too.
To use planes, we will need to know so many math things. We'll need to know the angles when we take off, how many people are on the plane to make sure the weight is good, and how much petrol we need, just like other forms of transport.
There is so much more maths involved, but if we say it all, we'll be here all day.
As we said, a plane needs so much maths for it to work. For example, the angle, height and balance. The angle of the planes needs maths because otherwise we wouldn't be able to take off or land. The average passenger plane takes off with an angle of about 10 to 15 degrees at the highest. Without angles, plane would be landing like this.
The balance of the plane needs mass because we need to know how much fuel to put in each wing so the plane can balance properly. Planes also need mass so that the plane can evenly let the fuel out the plane so the plane can fly efficiently. If there was no balance, then the plane would be flying on its side the whole time.
The height of the plane needs maths because the pilot needs to know how high to fly the plane so it doesn't crash into others. It also needs to know how high to fly because as the plane gets higher in the air gets thinner and the plane can go faster without turbulence. If there was no maths or height, then the plane would crash into others and cause lots of turbulence.
Before making a plane, maths is used during making decisions like how powerful must the engines be to get the aeroplane off the ground. This is called the power to weight ratio. If the aeroplane is too big and heavy for the power from the engines, it will not be able to fly.
Before a pilot takes off in his aeroplane, he needs to know how far he will be traveling in distance and time, and how heavy the plane will be. With the use of maths, the pilot will know how much fuel he needs to load into the aeroplane.
But before loading the fuel, they also need to know what the weather will be like during the journey to the destination. To determine this weather forecast, they use meteorology, which is part of physics, so maths is used again. If they are expecting bad weather, the pilot will request that more fuel needs to be loaded onto the plane.
If the plane will be too heavy, they will reduce the cargo or request some passengers to take a later flight. When loading the cargo, the load controllers also use maths to balance the loader on the aeroplane. It is important for the aeroplane to be balanced to fly properly. Did you know that the big aeroplane like the A380 has a computer that moves fuel between the fuel tanks to ensure that the plane remains balanced?
Once the aeroplane is loaded and the pilot is comfortable with the takeoff weight, mass is used again to determine how long the runway needs to be the aeroplane to reach its takeoff speed. An A380 airplane, for example, will need about 3 kilometers of runway to take off safely.
Now that the pilot is on the runway and the aeroplane is traveling at the takeoff speed, the pilot will raise the nose of the aeroplane to take off. As the nose lifts off the horizontal position, the angle at which it takes off is called the angle of attack, which should not exceed around 30 degrees to take off safely.
Whilst in the air, the pilot will continue to monitor the airspeed and the ground. The ground speed is the speed compared to the items on the ground, and the airspeed is the speed at which the airplane is travelling in relation to the surrounding air.
So, who even needs to travel? Everyone needs to travel. So many athletes need to travel the world for big games or tournaments.
Lots and lots and lots and lots of maths.
Maths
Makes
everything possible.